Good afternoon.
What does that tell you?
Creative accounting.
Yeah.
The man with the big eraser.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, finally.
Afternoon.
Hi, Rodney, up in Clinton County.
Hi, Rodney.
So I just want to start off a little blurb that she didn't put on here. We'll do roll call first, but go from there.
Skipping one.
Chairman?
All right.
Skipping the pledge.
Can we,
In the pledge.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Rodney Brown. Pete Keenan.
Here.
Patty Waldron. Here. Harry McManus. Kimberly Davis. Al Rasco. Oh, Carl White.
Here.
Sorry, Carl White. Charles Harrington.
Here.
Ron Jackson.
Here.
Ike Tyler.
Here.
Sean Gilliland. Mike Diskin. Chris Garrow. John Frey.
Here.
Christy Wilt. Here. Brian Wells. Bill Farber. Beth Hunt. Here. Tracy Eldridge. Dennis Dickinson.
Here.
Edna Frazier. Here. John Strow.
Here.
Ron Conover.
Here.
Mike Swan.
Here.
Kevin Hajos. Matthew Hicks.
Here.
Richard Moore.
Here.
Dave O'Brien.
Here.
Bob Henke.
Here.
Al Nolet.
At your service.
Deb Donahue.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes as mailed for January 10? So moved by Pete. Do I have a second? John Stroh. Any omissions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
We also need an amendment to the October 4th, 2018 minutes.
Yeah, right after the executive session on the minutes, there was a motion by Mr. Moore, seconded by Mr. Dickinson, to appoint Beth Gillis as director of the Regional Planning Board, and it did not make it into the minutes.
Does anyone remember that motion?
I don't.
All right,
All right.
my work here's done. I'll see you guys later.
And the clawback on the pay is what?
I'll
Can I-
move the amendment.
Moved by Ron, second. John Stroh. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. So I just wanted to say a couple words before we start. It was about a year ago that some of the news started breaking about the things happening at the Regional Planning Board, and I got to say that I think a lot of us were surprised about a lot of things were found out and happened. But I want to say as we go through some of the information you're going to see today, I think we've had a tremendous turnaround. I think there's a tremendous restructure of the organization that's worked, mainly because of Beth and her efforts. She's like a nonstop bunny. You know, she keeps on going and going and going, and when I think she's tired me out more, she has more questions. So, but she's really been a good asset to the organization, and we made a smart move by putting her in the position. And I think as you hear things going forward, you read it, but financially we're much stronger than we were last year. Last year this time we were scrubbing bills that weren't paid 90 to 120 days out. Right now I can say that even with Washington County doing some of the work, when we get a bill from Washington County, we pay that bill, and we pay and still have a good substantial amount of money in the bank. So we made some tremendous improvements. I think there's a lot more we can go. Are there going to be some stumbling blocks? Yes. We still have 3 or 4 loans that are in transition from one place to another. We have 2 or 3 loans, which you see later, which we are in process of foreclosure on, and other status of doing lawsuits, but we hope those are due. We're grappling with a couple, with one loan recipient, and I don't know if we'll talk about it today or not, but we're trying to come to a conclusion on what we're going to do with that individual. So we'll see. But I just want to say that and thank Beth for her efforts, and also want to thank all you for your help and efforts and encouragement and support, and Mr. Bolt, who has been helpful in supporting the organization. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, with that said, Al, Treasurer's Report.
I'll get through this as quickly as possible, Chairman, I promise. I'll be saving the RDC report for the RDC meeting. That's all right?
Mm-hmm.
Normally I've given you everything all at once. I'm going to just wait and do that separately because that makes more sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
This packet right here is as of March 31st, 19. I'm not really going to spend much time on this because I want to walk through real quick the year-end numbers. These aren't drastically different than those. So this packet just take home with you as informational. They're not markedly different than the year-end stuff other than rubs and expenses, obviously. So the bound book you have in front of you is the 2018 year-end. The document inside is the document that has to be filed with the New York State Comptroller. It's completed and will be uploaded tomorrow. The parish reporting, as you'll discover with RDC, has already been done, so all of the agencies' financial reporting is all in compliance, on time, what have you there, so, well, technically. We can't finish parish, but we'll talk about that. Our side of everything that we need to file is filed. With that said, inside the cover of the bound book, there's a sheet that looks a lot like this. That's going to give you your agency-wide look at how we finished 2018. The only downside that I can see still from where we were this time last year is if you look at the cash reserve figures in the revolving loan funds, and then you drop down to the part of the fund equity that talks about reserve for loans, you'll see that reserve cash is still below those numbers. So we haven't quite recovered back to where those funds are fiscally supposed to be, because that reserve for loans amount should be the cash you have on hand to loan. Those numbers are still lagging behind. They're considerably different than they were as we first met as a group last year. So there's been remarkable progress, in my opinion, over the past 8-9 months. The problem with the good news is it makes you wonder why it was so bad a year ago. If the funds turned around this strong, this quick, then what kinds of things were happening before? So while I'm delivering what I hope to be good news, it still gives me caution. As Mr. Moore is used to me, I deliver rain with every drop of sun. So I still am concerned that because it turned around so quickly, so strong, what was going on before? I haven't got answers for you yet. Chances are, by my nature, I will have answers for you at some point. I'm not one that tends to let things go, so there'll probably be more questions as we move forward. I think at the end of the day, you'll find very simply that money was just being reloaned as fast as it came in the door, whether or not it was the fiscally prudent thing to do. I'm hoping that that's what I find. Very good chance.
And sort of address that, we just may never know.
We just may never know, but it is curious that it became this strong this quick.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the funds go, because of the renewed strength in the revolving loan funds and in the operating fund, all but 2 of the interfund loans that were monies that were loaned back and forth between all the bank accounts, all but 2 of them have been satisfied. So that's fantastic news. We had all kinds of money due back and forth between bank accounts that was just really trying to cure some cash flow problems. That's gone away. Those loans have been repaid, except, like I said, except for 2 of them. The $29,000 loan that's in the operating fund, there is enough cash right now that we could satisfy that one, but let's kind of wait at least another quarter to see that this trend continues. We took on a new employee. It's some time before those administration monies come back from those grants. So let's get into that wheel first and then start making some more. By the end of this year, I would assume that all of the interfund loans will be satisfied and paid off. I can't see any reason why they wouldn't. That would be a huge accomplishment just in itself, just making all those interfund loans go away. And then every fund is operating on its own merits. That would be fantastic. The next few pages behind that county-wide sheet are comparisons of each of them this year over last. You'll see the operating fund grew by $60,000, and even the RLFs. Again, I'm not going to take all your afternoon going through this book. You guys, most of you deal with this stuff through your county eyes. You've seen this stuff before. I'm always around to answer questions that you have. The biggest message that I wanted to deliver today is that we are really on a secure financial foot now to begin whatever the next chapter of the organization is going to be. You can now make some decisions fiscally sound that before was just, it felt like we were the little Dutch boy putting the finger in the dike or whatever. And now we've got strong footing, and there can be actual legitimate conversations about getting the loan funds back doing what the loan funds are supposed to do. I think Beth will even be able to talk about, there are some regulations on how much cash you can actually have on hand through the EDA rules. You can actually get to a point where you have too much money in the fund, and you then have to either reloan it or give it back. So Beth can speak better to that, but we're approaching getting back to that strong a fund in the RLS. The only thing that I'll note, because it's a question that could come up after you take a look at these, you'll notice that some of the 2017 year-end fund equity numbers are not the 2018 beginning fund equity numbers, which may cause you to scratch your head. I have found quite a few discrepancies in my forensic reaccounting of the books. I didn't just start the books in September and come forward. In order to do that properly, I actually had to go back to January and kind of rebuild where we came from. I found some significant things that had to be changed, and I'll be talking about some of those things with our new auditors when they come to visit. There were things like, they were simple, I shouldn't say simple things, but they were things like there was a group of checks that was cut in December of 2017 that was never taken out of cash. They just created a liability account on the books that said checks drawn against future or something, but I don't even remember what they called it now. And it's not even a real account, okay? So if you write a check in December, that's cash. Just because you didn't put it in the mail till January doesn't mean you didn't spend the cash. That's not how it works. So there's a bunch of stuff like that that was uncovered when I forensically started to tear the books apart. So I just wanted to explain, because most of you are used to seeing 2017's ending number becomes 2018's beginning number. That's pretty basic math, right? So you won't see that on these. And I just wanted to explain that discrepancy before it caused concern. Is there questions or anything specific you want me to go over? I'd really like you to have time to digest this. It's really unfair to kind of give this to you in 30 seconds and ask you to come up with a intelligent, clear, concise question. I'm always available, or even at the next meeting, be more than happy to answer questions. I really wanted to deliver a message that we are significantly stronger than we were a year ago, and that's really the best news I could deliver to what we were looking at 8-10 months ago.
Any questions, or Ron?
Al, I think what you're going to find, the biggest thing is go back through is that previously nobody asked people to pay their loans. They didn't dog them, they didn't call them, and that's now being done. I think that's one of the biggest things we're going to find. They weren't pursued before. Now, hey, you got a loan due, when you're paying it, what's the situation? And if you ask people, you're more likely to get paid than if you just let it slide.
Right. And to that point, two of the things that I forgot to mention. Number one, since December, because things became stronger and more self-sufficient, we have started dialing back the amount of, you're allowed to take the interest from the loan funds to help offset the operating costs of the agency. We've now, the operating fund is strong enough that we've been able to dial back the usage of that interest money for operations and let it stay in the loan fund to be reloaned, which is really why we're here, or not why we're here, it's why the loan funds are here. The loan funds are here for economic development. So if we can keep some of that money in there to reinvest in economic development, that's really what that money's supposed to be for. So we've begun to dial back the reliance on that interest, which to me, again, fantastic news. You'll see on the agency-wide balance sheet, there's $511,000 of allowance for uncollectible accounts there. That's Al's belts and suspenders. They're a measure of the loans that I'm just not warm and fuzzy about. I would love to be wrong on at least two of them. If I am, because the fund is strong with that allowance in there. It can only get stronger as that allowance number comes down. If it turns out that we only write off 100 of that 5, that's even better news. So this is just me being overly cautious on certain loans I've identified as questionable.
Okay. Ron?
Yeah, just the accounting on the fund balance on page 4, is that just a shift from assigned unappropriated? It looks like maybe in 17 they put all of it in unassigned fund balance, but you've broken it out to in 18 to be assigned, unappropriated, and unassigned. Is that what's happening?
Oh, and actually, thank you for your question, because one of the accounting changes I also forgot to share with you. Thank you. In the past, the document that was filed with the comptroller had just a general fund and a long-term debt fund. That's all that was reported. I think that there's a benefit, especially in this world, to have sub-funds where you can identify this is the operating, this is RLF1, this is RLF3, this is RLF4, because each of them has its own environment that makes it strong or weak in and of itself. They are all basically separate little funds that make up the overarching fund. So in this document now, you'll see a combined general fund, and then you'll see an operating, an RLF1, an RLF3, and an RLF4 sub-fund. The RLF funds, because they are for a specific use, I have placed them in an assigned fund balance. You can't just take that money and spend it where you want. It is assigned to a specific purpose. The unassigned then represents the fund balance in the operating fund. That is your discretionary money. I thought it was a better presentation of what this agency actually does.
Yeah.
So thank you for your question, because I forgot to run you through that.
Yeah, no, it's a way of reflecting a type of encumbrance, so to speak, that the things these dollars are there for. They're not unassigned, unappropriated. They're not like available for anything.
Because in the past, when you looked at $2.5 million fund balance,
right,
the agency looks fantastic.
Right.
Right. Not necessarily.
Thank you.
All set? So we'll need a motion to accept the year incentive in the 2019 first quarter. Treasury report.
I'll make a motion.
Patty makes a motion. Do I have a second? Edna? Any questions, further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Also included in your packet was the January through March abstracts. I'll need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
So moved by Pete, second by? Second by Ron. Any questions, discussion? Al?
Dave, I didn't know if you wanted to share with the group that in March, we began using the debit card, so they'll see some things on the abstract that are different than normal.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. I guess I want to change the order of things. I think this is a natural lead-in from what we were talking about. And I want to go to item number 6, the 2017 and 2018 independent audits. We had contracted with Marvin & Company last year and signed a letter of engagement. I believe it was in April, May. When we first come on board, the independent audits had not been finished. We asked for those independent audits several times. I've called them, Beth called them, and we emailed them and talked to people over there and talked to other people over there and still didn't get them. In March, we got news dropped on us from the Economic Development Authority, agency. Economic Development Agency provides us a grant of $420,000. So money we expend, we can go for grants, a matching grant. So realistically, the cash to us is $210,000 over 3 years. We were informed that because we had not submitted our independent audit in 2017, they were not in a position to renew that grant at this point. That's a grant where, as of this morning, Beth tried to get information that we have not been able to get an answer whether that's going to be granted again. We have no reason to believe it's not. But already, if we don't get that approved, we have approximately $70,000 in expenses that we cannot ask for reimbursement on. So, reimbursement for, it's not 70,000, it's what? 17.5 for the first quarter?
A quarter. 17.5 quarter.
Oh, 17.5 a quarter, yes. So right now we don't know where that stands. We don't know if they go back and approve the 3-year grant, if it's going to be backdated. We just don't know the answer to that. We have no reason to believe it's not going to be. That was entirely caused by the lack of our independent auditor to deliver us our independent audit for the year 2017 in a timely basis. So Beth and I are staying on top of it. We're trying to get an answer, but I guess that's the news I've got to bear today. And just before we came in here, we got our bills for the independent audit for 2017, and we are reviewing those at this point. So I just wanted to give that news so people know we're talking about it, and we need to figure out from the EDA what the story is. We do a lot of work for the EDA. It pays a lot of our expenses. It actually pays for Beth's salary and other people's salaries and a lot of operating expenses. So we'll see what happens. So I was hoping we'd have clear, good sailing today. That the newspaper article would say how great we're doing, but you know, this is a bad thing if it doesn't get reapproved. So thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think going forward, we should develop there's those things that any organization does every year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think we should maintain a calendar of that. And so as things come up, we put that on the calendar so that next year you know that on such and such a date you have to have the following material. It's kind of a prod, a reminder. But I think going forward, you know, it's hard enough getting your financials within the first few months to be able to do the parish reporting because it's April 15 and accounting funds. But I think going forward, I think that we should incorporate, if we haven't already, incorporate into our contracts like that certain performance states. So I think going forward, for example, I mean, the staff is going to need those financials to be able to do the parish reporting going forward on a certain date. And if they don't get it and you don't provide that on that date, you're held as not being in compliance with the parish reporting. And same thing with the annual financials. I think it should be incorporated into those contracts that we expect to have that annual by a certain date, and that the and there should be consequences for our not receiving it by that date.
Thanks. I think we make note of that. I will say that we have not engaged that firm to do our independent audits from now on. And the one we have has been very responsive to us. They actually are coming, I think, next week or the week after to start the independent audit. And the only one we really need back quickly is the RDC, because that's the only one that's subject to RDC reporting. So we'll see what happens. But you're right. I mean, it's, in my opinion, a big firm like that, understanding, because I told them that this would cost us money, weren't as reactive as they should have been. So thank you. Ron?
Cost us a lot of money not getting that. Is it worth trying to pursue them legally? I know we probably wouldn't collect, but rattle their cage a little bit with a letter from somebody that we're considering legal action because of the untimeliness of the report.
We need to have a conversation with people on that. So
I just want to note, Ron, we do now have a calendar of all reports and when they're due, and Al has a copy as well, so he and I have been working together with that. The 2017 audit should have been put into the federal clearinghouse by September 30th, 2018, and it wasn't, and so that's the problem we're having with the EDA.
Yeah, there's those things that, you know, we repeat every year.
Yep.
It's good to be able to pull up that organizational calendar, and you could have it so it's available for all of us as well.
Yeah.
So that we see that calendar and we know.
Yeah, I can send that around. That's no problem.
And
Al?
again, if it's of any comfort at all, everything for 18 has been done, filed to the best of our ability. That still needs one piece for Paris. The comptroller report, like I said, will be uploaded tomorrow, which is not due till April 30th. EFPR that's coming in to do the 18 audit has had the RDC's documents for over a month now, and this morning I've uploaded everything they need for this audit. So everything for 18 is on track, on time. If it's of any comfort at all, we're everything that we've had control over is back on track. But the calendar is the one that Beth's here with me is very useful, so I hope she does get it out to the group.
Just refresh my memory that the independent auditor is getting the information from our bookkeeper, or they're getting it from our internal auditor.
For 2017, excuse me, for 2017, they got the information from SEPCO, who's our previous bookkeeper. So they provide the information. It is my understanding that SEPCO provided the information in a timely basis, at least on the RDC, and they were not the hindrance to getting this done. They did come back to us.
I only bring that up because sometimes that can be a
It looks like
that exchange can be.
It looked like the bookkeeper did everything
Okay.
on the right deadline.
So, any other questions? Can we go to more positive things now? Okay, I always have to have a little more good news, but I did forget to introduce Allison, and Beth, would you introduce Allison?
This is Allison Hargrave-Gaddy. She is our new senior planner. She is taking over the water quality program among other work. She comes from Saratoga County Planning. She's worked for Saratoga Plan and the City of Albany. She has extensive agriculture, open space, trails experience we haven't had in the office, so she offers a lot. I don't know if you want to say anything. I think that's it. Yeah.
Well, my observation, Allison works very well with Beth, and it fits in very well and is very attentive to doing her work. Thank you. Thank you, Allison. So, board member financial disclosures. Under ethics policy, we need a financial disclosure, so you have one involved in the packet. So if you would please fill it out and send it to Beth at your earliest convenience, we would appreciate it.
If you've already filled it out as a director on the RDC, I don't need you to do it again. So John, Beth, Ron, Pete. I got that.
Did I do it?
Yes, you.
Okay. Well, I can't remember those details sometimes. So, next I have Beth, redesignation.
So this is something that we do every year, which is the redesignation of our banks, newspaper, and legal counsel. So we use Glens Falls National Bank for all of our banking. We use the Post-Star and the Press Republican for any of our legal notices. And our legal counsel for the closing of loans, we use Borges and Del Signor. And for all other matters, we use Bartlett, Pontiff, Stewart, and Rhodes.
So I'll need a motion to redesignate those parties. Dennis, second by Edna. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Beth, some good news from the EDA.
Some good news from the EDA. If you remember, we approved the revolving loan fund management plan at our November meeting. I sent it into the EDA. The EDA sent it back with a couple of comments, and I sent those out in the email I sent. The highlighted portions were the parts that changed. Basically, they just asked me to take some language from the regulations and put it in the plan. Originally, what had been submitted to them beginning of last year was kind of just a regurgitation of the regulations, and they said, no, you actually have to write a plan. So I wrote a plan, and they came back and said, we had to put some of the regulation language in. So just to go through those really quickly, the first one is interest rates. So this, again, was part of the regulation that the minimum interest rates for loans cannot be 4%, 4 percentage points below the lesser of the current money center prime interest rate. So again, that was in the regulations and what we would have had to do anyway. Page 13, leveraging of funds. There must be a minimum ratio of $2 in private financing for every $1 of RLF funding, and that's portfolio-wide. So that's not per loan necessarily. That's as an entire portfolio. There needs to be a 2-to-1 ratio. Page 19, environmental review and compliance. She basically just asked that I take everything out of the regulation and put it into the plan, so that's what I did. Page 22, I had in there that the approval of loans will be documented in the minutes, but they also want a resolution passed by the board, and they wanted me to write that in there, so I did that as well. So moving forward with an approval of a loan, it will be in the meeting minutes, but there will also be a specific resolution passed for that loan. Page 23, just a couple of additions to loan closing documents. Again, the resolution, agreements of prior lien holders as applicable, and conditions that permit the completion or successful operation of the activity to be financed. So that'll be added to the list at the beginning of each of the loan folders. These are documents that have to be within the loan. Page 24, monitoring. She just wanted me to elaborate on what we do. We have the UCC filings. We do annual insurance filings. We've also started, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, but an annual job survey. So she wanted me to elaborate on that, so that's what that is. Further down on the page, she wanted me to specify what we do for late fees, which in each one of our notes it says that a late fee of 5% of any payment that is 10 days past due will be assessed. So that's in all of our notes regularly. She just wanted me to put the words into the plan, so I did that. Page 25, again, this came out of the regs. Payments on defaulted loans, there are certain things you're supposed to pay in certain orders. So when you get money back from a loan that's gone into default and you've gone through your whole process, first, money goes towards any cost of collection. Second, towards outstanding penalties and fees. Third is towards accrued interest. And then fourth is towards the outstanding principal. Page 27, she just wanted me to put in there that we are audited annually. So that's what that one's about. And then the last one, page 28, I had in there that the Board of Directors will approve the 5-year update, but I didn't put in there that it would be submitted to EDA, so I just had to add that at the end. So those are the changes. I did them. I sent them back. EDA is great. We got a letter that I gave everybody that says, we love your plan. So I would ask Dave to do a reapproval of the plan on today's date with those changes that were made.
I entertain a motion to reapprove the plan as with the changes made. By Ron, second by
Yep.
Dennis. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried?
Beth, are you going to have to do the same thing for the RDL with that?
No.
No, because this is an EDA requirement. The RDC money is from the USDA.
Correct. Different
Yep.
parents.
Different
with
rules.
Paperwork.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. Loan committee report.
You should do that.
Well, I would love to have you do that,
Correct.
Christy.
We met on April 9th. We have a new board member. His name is Chris Hay. He's the president of the Dannemora Federal Credit Union. In your packet, you do have a copy of the minutes, but I'm just going to give you a short version of kind of what we did. We approved a loan modification for Jay Lamica, Jay's Monitor and Heating. He's been making payments in good faith during this process. So the committee agreed to do a modification for him for 7 years, 6.5%, with a payment of $683.93 per month. He's typically been sending in payments between $500 and $1,000, and the most recent ones were $750 each, so we felt that the new loan payment was manageable for him. If he defaults up to 30 days, the note will be immediately due, and it will be in 14. And he's aware of that. The second loan that we discussed was a request for a modification from Joe Brand, All Brands Redemption. He has 4 loans with us. 3 are from the Regional Planning Board. 1 is out of the REDC. He requested to do 1 loan, but we can't commingle the 2 loan programs. So we're looking into taking 4 of the loans down to 2. He's been sending in his paperwork that we've requested to Beth, but we don't have everything needed to take action at this time. She feels that he's been receptive to her, and there have been some medical issues that he was dealing with. His current debt to us is approximately a total of $241,000 across all 4 loans. Our current collateral on those are his redemption stores. We have accounts receivable of the first loan. On the second loan, we have a mortgaging against the first mortgage placement on the Chestertown store. On the third loan is second mortgage on the Chestertown store. On the fourth loan is the third mortgage on the Chestertown store. Correct? Okay. He's looking to sell the store and the business for $500,000. Beth's been following up with the realtors for any updates that she can get on the sale. If we agree to do the modification, we'll need more collateral. This will be in the form of a mortgage on his home. We will be watching to make sure his taxes are paid on the Chestertown store. At this time, he's caught up up to 2018 taxes, but 2019 was not paid as of our last meeting. He did pay the $250 for new application. He gave a $2,000 deposit on his loan. Beth took those funds and applied the fees to penalties, interest, and then principal. She put the money towards the first loan, $1,700 in back interest. Right? The second loan, I think she put $300 towards the interest, and he still owes approximately $1,400 on there, but he is making an effort to work with us. She is asking him for his quarterly sales report so we can get a better idea of his income. The board thought it would be a good idea for him to complete a business evaluation to find out the true value of his business since he's selling one of them. We also thought it would be a good idea to have him meet with the board and ask him to have his accountant help him with his business projections. The third loan we discussed was Cooper Logging. We are foreclosing. He was given a $150,000 loan for properties he purchased in 2015. He made 12 payments and then 2 partial payments. We filed for foreclosure in December. He owes us approximately $143,000, $15,000 interest, $14,000 fees. His collateral is 5 pieces of property in the town of Bolton. He also has a $17,000 county judgment and a $27,000 mortgage on one of the pieces of property we have for collateral. The properties are assessed for a total of $190,000, so we should be able to recoup our loan. At this point, Beth has said that we've filed appointment with a referee, and the property seems valuable because there's potential room for development. The third loan we discussed was the Ward Adirondack Meat Company. They've relocated to Florida. The Essex County IDA is also seeking judgment. We are seeking judgment in New York, but it was suggested to us that if we aren't successful, we may want to transfer our judgment to Florida, and that process would start over. We did learn that there is a company that will do very inexpensive asset searches. They cost between $60 and $250, and based on what you want, they'll go find the person's assets, and then you can go after those assets. The fourth loan we discussed.
Excuse me, how much was that loan?
That loan was for
Adirondack Meat was $150,000.
$150,000.
Thank you.
Yeah. The fourth loan we discussed was the North Country Club Restaurant in Clinton County. We gave them $150,000 in 2008. This is a working capital loan for 15 years. Our collateral is a second mortgage on their home in Essex County and a mortgage on the business in Clinton County. He got behind in 2016, started doing better, and then had not paid the taxes on the building in several years and was in risk of foreclosure. He has paid some of the back taxes. Chris Hay reported that the restaurant closed the end of March. At this point, he owes about $47,000, and our attorney felt the best course of action is to sue him on the note and his personal guarantee, and he's starting that paperwork. Michael has been unresponsive to working with us, and an accelerated payment demand was sent to him that he did not respond.
You finally done? Thank you very much, Christy.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Christy? Albert?
May not be for Christy, but just refresh my memory. Moving forward, is our $150,000 cap per loan or per borrower?
It's my understanding that it's $150,000 total, and that anything that goes over that really has to come to the full board. But I don't think that we are structured to give loans for over $150,000 unless there is a separate and distinct collateral involved.
So we won't get in the brand situation again?
I hope the hell not. Excuse me. Hope not. But not. I can't see that happening. But on the brand loan, if we do, we has to go from the loan committee and it has to go to the executive committee for approval of that. So it will be there. Any other questions? Moving on. I will need a motion to appoint Chris Hay, President of Dana Moore Federal Credit Union, to the Loan Committee. So if I could have that.
I'll make that motion.
Matt Hicks, second by Patty. Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And the moment we've been waiting for is Beth's report.
All right. It's 2 pages this time. We've had a lot going on. Overall, management-wise, we already introduced Allison, our new senior planner. She came February 11th. We've been working with Al to revamp our expense tracking system, which on its face doesn't sound complicated, but it's been some work. Really just to shore up the way that we track the expenses in the office with the way that they get reported to the comptroller, just so it's easier to match up categories, really, is all it comes down to. We have a new website. Al's not allowed on it, apparently, but everybody else can get to it.
There's a reason for that.
I believe you.
We're updating the office inventory. We already kind of talked about the audits. We've hired a new auditing firm, EFPR Group. The best case scenario, they will be here next week. Worst case scenario will be end of May. They've got some other jobs that they have planned, but as of this morning, everything they've asked for us to upload into their portal for them has been uploaded, so they've got everything that they've asked for.
They'll be in Washington County May 24th, so you can't have it.
We've got the 2018 annual reports out. It's on our website, and then I put some printed copies out. I have some extra printed copies. In terms of economic development, we talked about the EDA planning grant I submitted, and it was accepted, the final report for the 2016 to 2018 grant, and we're working on the next 3-year now that they have, the audit has been uploaded to the federal clearinghouse and accepted by the federal clearinghouse. Now we just have to, we're going back to EDA to say, where do we stand? The answer has been, I'm checking on it. We've been getting into some projects. We've been working with the town of Johnsburg on the North Creek wastewater system. We'll be writing a grant for the Washington County Fairgrounds, a Northern Borders grant for their septic system upgrades. And we did some editing on a pre-application for the former Clinton County Airport redevelopment and submitted a letter of support to them for an EDA grant. Northern Borders, the ones that we that are already awarded, we're working with Crown Point to get all their paperwork in to get their notice to proceed. We've become involved in the Elizabethtown wastewater system project and also the drinking water project in Plattsburgh. A95 reviews, so as a refresher of what those are, there are specific federal funding entities that per an executive order, before someone applies to that grant, allow the USDA grants, the FAA, they have to submit their application to our office so that we can A, check it for completeness and make sure that everything's filled out properly, but B, also make sure it's consistent with our SEDS and our regional economic development goals. What we also do is take a copy and send it to the county planning department to make sure that they don't have any objections to the project, such as someone's already doing this, why is this person applying for the grant, or, this isn't a viable application, here's the reason why. So in the first quarter of 2019, I have done 14 A95 reviews, and they've been from all of the counties, or almost all of the counties. And this is a list. I don't need to go through them all, but there's been some really good projects. If you flip your page, I just kind of thought it was interesting. I put a little table. So in the first quarter of 2019, we've done 14 A95 reviews. In all of 2018, we did 3. In all of 2017, we did 3. In all of 2016, there was 8. And all of 15, there were 11, and so on. So we've done we've done more in the first quarter than we've done in the last 3 years total. I don't really know why, but I'm glad to see that people are looking towards federal funding partners and trying to get money that's available to them for this area, because there is money available in these grant programs. So anything we can do to boost that and help that, we will certainly do. Water quality, we've written 3 grants, 2 to the Lake Champlain Basin Program. We also wrote an invasive species grant for the town of Fort Anne that went into the DEC. In terms of grant management, 2 of the CFAs, we wrote 5 last year, 2 were awarded, so we've now begun management on those, so we're managing 5 water quality grants right now. We also have received our DEC 604B program allotment. So what that is, it's federal funding that comes through the DEC to regional planning boards that helps maintain the water quality program and maintain staff to do water quality. It's a 4-year contract. Our last 4-year contract expired March 31st, so we've now just started a new 4-year contract. Every year the DEC gives us a dollar amount that we have within that contract, and it just depends on how much money they got from the feds and passed down to the regional planning boards. Last year we got $70,000 in the budget. I actually budgeted $65 because I didn't really know where it was going. Our number this year is $97,770, so that's encouraging. Yes, that's good. It's very good. So at this point, because Allison's been working on a bunch of stuff, so I think I'll pass it over to you.
Sure, thank you. So the first one up here is the Screen Lake Watershed Management Plan Addendum. There is already an accepted watershed management plan. This addendum just had a expanded study area included some neighboring sub-watersheds. So the draft has been sent to the committee for review and comment, and I think they are meeting in mid-May. So I think that plan should be finalized in the summertime. The next one is the Isle Lamont Watershed Management Plan. This is a plan up in Clinton County, funded by the Lake Champlain Basin Program. We have a very accelerated schedule for this one. The final draft is due at the end of November of this year. So far we've put together our advisory committee and held the first meeting. We plan 2 public events in Clinton County over the summer for public input on that one. The Upper Hudson River Watershed Revitalization Plan is a Department of State funded grant. We are working with the Upper Hudson River Coalition on that one, and it is due to be complete in March of next year. The Lake George Watershed Action Plan is a Department of State grant to the town of Queensbury, and we are working with the new Lake George Partnership, moving forward on that grant, potentially. And finally, we have assisted the town and village of Lake George with their 2018 MS4 annual reports. Another thing that just came up yesterday is I spoke with some folks at the U.S. Census that will be done in 2020, and they are looking for complete count committee participants in the North Country. We've volunteered to help them make connections throughout our our area, the 5 counties, and they are interested in putting together maybe 3 to 4 complete count committees. So if anyone here is interested or knows anyone who would like to go through that training or participate on a committee, please let me know.
Going into the loan program, we've already talked about a lot of this, but we completed an entirely new loan application. It's on our website. It is much more substantive than it used to be. We started annual reporting requirements, so there's a copy of a job survey that we sent out to everybody. We also requested their business taxes and to make sure that their insurances are up to date. Out of 41 active loans, I think we've gotten 9 back. So the due date was March 31st. We'll give them till the end of April to see if any extra ones come in, and then we're going to start calling and asking for them. I think people just don't know why we're now asking them for things. We created a revolving loan fund fact sheet. It's on our website, and I'll email that out as well. It's just a 2-page, this is what it's for, this is, how to contact us. We're monitoring the UCCs and the insurance. We've done reporting to the EDA. And we talked about all that other stuff. And we I threw the Regional Development Corp on here just to note that we held a special meeting on March 25th to adopt all the policies that were required of us from ABO. So we did those. They're all up on our website now. And we created committees and approved the final report, and so all that stuff is up on the website under the RDC page. We talked about the Paris reporting. Again, everything we had control over is complete. We are now now that the 2017 audit's done, EFPR can do the 2018 audit, and that's what we need to be able to put our completed Paris report in. And we did all of our reporting to USDA. So that's where we're at.
It tired me out just listening to it. Any questions for Beth?
I got one actually for Allison. Now that you're a new hire and you're actually you read the application, what we expected and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing what you thought you were going to do? Are you happy that you took the position?
I am, actually.
I mean, because you never know.
No, yes.
You think you're doing something and things change.
It's definitely a realm of planning that I've not done before, so it's been challenging, and I've really enjoyed it.
Good.
Yeah.
Working hard.
So, okay, new meeting.
You lost your people.
Well, we're so close to the end, I'm not going to get them back. So, I just want to address the RDC for a second. At another organization, the ABO was up giving us a report on our audit, and the subject of Paris reporting came up, and I talked to him. I said, listen, we're not going to get in by April 15th for these reasons. He said, just send us an email. He said, you'll be one of the 40% that we hear from, and come around July, we'll get a list of people that we'll have to go after because they still haven't submitted them, but he said, don't worry about it as long as you just let us know that you're working on it and the reason that there won't be any penalties. So we will let them know that what the issue was. So RDC, one other thing, I have been trying to figure out a way to wrap down the RDC. There's only 6 loans there, 4 good loans, 1 questionable loan, and 1 that we refinanced. So we do have cash to make our next payment, but we'll see what happens. So I'm still trying to figure out a way to do it, to get it done, to unwind that and get rid of the RDC, because there's no real future purpose for the RDC other than these 6 loans.
And you do have March 31st and December 31st financials for the RDC in your handouts.
Thank you. Any questions? One other thing I just made a note for, sexual harassment and workplace violence. I've got something that I will have Beth send out to everyone to satisfy our requirements for it. If you have do we get a reading if we take it from one organization, it's good for the other organization? Do you ever get a reading on that, Chris? You know? So we still don't know, so we're still looking at it. But I will send it out. This is an approved self-study course. You do it at home at your own pace, and you fill out answer some questions, send it back to us, and you get your certificate. So go from there.
Well, the new law requires it to be interactive, so just be aware of that.
I'm following what was sent to us by our safety officer.
Dave, I just attended the training on the investigation aspect of that. We talked about, if you're, working for the state and working for somebody else and you take it under one agency, it's okay as long as you got a certificate from them saying that you took it and theirs was interactive and all that. But you also have to make sure that they have been trained in the reporting process for your own organization.
Okay, good.
So you can have, it'll pass taking the course somewhere else, but you've got to make sure you
We got to see a certificate and to tell them how to report.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Any other questions on the other that have come up? Okay. Next meeting date will be in July. I would like to shoot for the 3rd week in July, a Tuesday the 16th or a Thursday the 18th. Does anyone know of any conflicts?
The 3rd Thursday would be intercounty again, right?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe some people like doing 2 meetings in one trip.
Well, intercounty's in Essex County, this next one.
Then Washington County in June. I don't know who's in July.
Okay. I'll just look at my schedule if I can find it. Intercounty is on the 25th in July.
It'd be the 4th Thursday. Where?
Yes. I don't know where. Lewis County. I've got no Lewis County, so that's a hell of a long ride, so we can't get 2 meetings in one day. Unless we all travel to Lewis County. And I don't want to do that.
No.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Tuesday the 16th, we'll target, so if anyone sees any conflicts, please get back either Beth or I. I have nothing else to talk about.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock. Dennis.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Get out of here.
Thank you.